Hi. So the project began out by just doing some initial research. So looking at competitors, talking to guards, and seeing what was currently happening for for people trying to retrieve their bikes first of all before I focused on users buying them. So there's a system called Pulse where they can register a bike, and if they see it, they'll get it back. But that's no use to anybody that's looking online. And also, there's no barrier to entry for the sale of stolen goods online. So with the competitor analysis, I checked out a thing called Bike Register. So this is where you can register your bike, and it creates a profile. But if you go onto that to search, I should actually just load it up. No, it doesn't matter. If you go onto that to load it up, you can put your bike in. But if people are shopping on Facebook, eBay, Dundeal, etc., you have to know the bike serial number to check if it's stolen or not. And I found that this is a very difficult process to do because not a lot of people know their own serial number first of all, what the survey said, and then know what to look out for when they are buying a bike or buying an item online. So that was kind of some of the responses that I got from the survey. People didn't really know the competitors. They haven't checked if anything was stolen or not because it didn't occur to them to check, so they didn't know it's a problem. People are likely to help each other if they had the means to check, which was good for me going forward. And here we can see that people don't know their bike serial number, so asking people to rely on this one piece of information what just didn't work. So the literature review focused on stolen goods market, e-selling in the online marketplace, thieves and their habits, people's buying habits, current failings, and then crowdsourcing to create a potential solution. So I wanted to use surveys, interviews, and competitor analysis to inform my designs going forward. So then I created a MVP to test on paper, just the concept. So that's when I just wanted to test kind of if people knew what site is this, where can I go from here, what can I do here, will this be useful to me, them kind of things. So just a concept test. I then created the first clickable wireframe and created a more tangible script. So here you can see what I was asking users to do in each of the tests. So this was carried out, there's 4 prototypes to go through. This was carried out with 5 users. At the end of each prototype, and then there was a separate data login sheets that I can use to help get further insights from. Just hold on till I find it. I should have it open. So this post study, you can get more qualitative data, and this is how I helped inform my decisions going forward. So what did they like, and then asking them why is that the case. If they circle these words, then that showed me what to work on going forward. So that was how I tested, and I'll go through the prototype. So this is the first one. This is how I clicked to wireframe. So the aim of this was to test the flow and see if it made sense. So here you can see there's a nav bar that's sticky, and then you can search for bike, laptop, or power tools. If you know the serial number, you can then check it here. This wasn't done in this instance, but you'll see it in further instances. And then the tools. So people don't know the serial number, so you need to. One of the key findings I found from the survey interviews was that people, all they can see in an ad is a visual. So as the tests moved to a higher fidelity, I put a photo up, and this is kind of how I tested with people. So I put this photo up, and then I placed it on one of the adverts to see if people could spot it. So that's how we did. And then tips, there were some tips here. Register, free to register for this because I wanted to integrate this with other services, but the way they're working, it just wasn't possible. So I think this is a one size fits all for everyone. So the flow is here. You'll check a number when you put your details in. You You can see what items are flagged as stolen. Click that. A full profile of the bike where your unique features can be found. So what people noted in the interviews was that they think they would be able to recognize their product based on scratches, markings. Some people self-mark their stuff in order to make it noticeable if it gets stolen. There could be paint on tires, etc. So that was something to consider. I initially wanted a reward system for using this, but that wasn't going to work for two reasons. The first was that a thief could create two profiles, and in the worst case scenario that they weren't able to sell the thing that they stole, they could give it back to the person and at least claim the minimum reward that was offered. And then the second part was, how do you make someone pay so if someone offers you help and spots your bike, you get your bike back, but then there's nothing to make you actually hand over the reward. And I was looking at the data and surveys and literature pointed that altruism and wanting to help each other and being part of the community were strong enough factors to help people crowdsource. So this is the alert to the owner. You'd send that, and then you get a thank you message, and then back home. So moving on to the second iteration, this is where I came up with the idea of checkmate. So it's just simply your mate to be able to check in a quality check quickly check if an online item has been flagged as stolen. That could say something along with mate, like your friend when shopping for secondhand online, but that has room for future work. This iteration, I wanted everything to look as it was going to look. So proper sizing on buttons, proper sizing on navigation elements, and then with the first iteration, people didn't feel they had enough with the 4 unique selling points to know enough about the company, what the problem was, which is why I included theft in Ireland, how this website works, which was another thing that people weren't able to tell me about post usability test the first time, and then our mission. So I found that this kind of accordion feature is a much better way to fit 4 layers of information into the same spot without taking up too much space, because if you had all these stacked up, it would take up too much room, and it's not part of the critical path, but it is important for people to know, to trust the company and what it does. And at the same time, for these would not suffice to have their own pages, so I think the accordion works well here. So check an item, and then when you're hovering over these, see the little small marker let you know you're hovering over, just a little bit more usability. Here you can check the frame number, that's good to go. There's another scenario where that says not good to go, and then bike details you can check there, and then the start of safety tips. So this was the start of safety tips. This looks register, upload photo was added, because that's something people want to do on testimonials. So registration, back in to see how the second part looks. So the text here was reported as being kind of boring, hard to read. The indent and the shadow made the bikes stand out a little bit more. A full profile without the images added yet, and then alert owner and alert. The third iteration was when all these buttons were the same size and I began to start adding the UI. So I kind of like this design. I've seen lots of web pages do it, so really simple. Navigation, blue. It was originally for Dublin, for theft of things in Dublin, but it's completely scalable, so it doesn't have to be blue. But the blue is a trustworthy colour, I feel. I think it works well. It got good feedback. So here we can just see the icon. The checkmate is a simple logo. Quickly check if it's flagged or stolen, check an item or find out more. Here you can add some more information. So about checkmate, theft now with icons, how it works, and our mission. So there's now items here that people can see more clearly. So laptop, power tools, or bike. You can check a bike. Here you can see a message good to go. It brings you back to the page. Safety tips were still reported being a little bit boring, so that they had to work further. This is just entering the information. Really simple. And then some testimonials, which would be a future feature. Registration successful. So now if we go through this time, we see the bike's profile is there. So blue, purple, silver. And one thing that I didn't suspect was just by chance, because that's the bike, this is the bike that I own. So some users were saying blue and some were saying purple. So it's very hard when you're just typing in a primary colour. So the next iteration would feature like filters, like, so you could like create a color wheel like Illustrator, and you could have an advert on one side, and then you can go to the color wheel on the other, and you could pick the color that's more closely suited to it that way. So this is the final iteration. Here, icons were added to separate the text. It's less bulky, makes it easier and more friendly to read. You can check if the famous number. I'll change that to the negative now in a second. So bike details all go in. Safety tips. There was icons added just to show the process, just to make it a bit more friendly and a bit more engaging. Register. So we go through the flow. Check. And here you can see the bike brand, the make, and then the colors, and the next iteration would make these clickable, so a color wheel will pop up, and then it would refresh the images based on the colors. So just kind of more icons, simple steps, let people know this is an easy process. This is the bike that I was testing with again, so they come down here, some more things they can do. Have a bit of look at the pictures. Pictures of bikes can be taken inside, outside, so it's important to have a couple of pictures to show. And then there's camouflage wrapping on the handles and Kobe engraved on the seat, so kind of some unique identifiers that people were talking about. So this is what this particular bike has. And then alert owner and alert. It should take me home. No problem. Yeah, there's not too important. There's just another error message that comes up. If it's flagged, it will come to an error message, and then it will let you just go straight to alert the owner. I'll make sure to have it set for the test and the prototype. And then next up, so the tests, as I said, were scenario based. The findings. Where the people like can search for their items better based if they have visual clues. So not restricting people to codes that they don't know is a great thing going forward, and it works really well. There's just with some conclusions. There just touches on the visuals. The data points out that the majority of people will do the right thing if they are given the means to do so, which is not to proceed with a sale of a flag stolen item and notify the owner. The testing scenario was aimed to ethically test people at the point of purchase, but it has its limitations, of course. It is a test situation, and people would have been very unlikely to carry on with the sale, even though they couldn't, but they would be very unlikely not to press report to the owner in a testing situation, because no one would like to be known as a thief, even if it's not the right action that they do. So that's something to consider going forward. And then we're touching on the problem statement. People may buy stolen goods without realising it, and thieves have adapted to the online marketplace to sell the items they have stolen. Online buyers who shop in second-hand marketplaces need a way to know if they are unknown buying stolen goods. The items can easily blend into legitimate markets, and bad users of the internet sell these close to the market value to reduce suspicion. Stolen items can be marked as legitimate at the point of sale, and it's not always a thief who sells the items online. So fences can, as the name of people who can buy off a vulnerable person like a thief, buy for cheap and sell on for an effort profit, which is still, that's no use to the person who's had their stuff stolen. So by hypothesis, I feel these have been answered. So the sale of stolen goods can be prevented if the buyers have the means to easily check. That's proven with the test results. Novice online shoppers who don't know what to look out for can be vulnerable to buying stolen goods. So that was shown when people don't know their own serial numbers. They don't know to check for serial numbers when they're buying. People said that they would happily help each other out. 81% of people said they would help others find their product if they could. The process has been made easier by adding visuals, so you don't need a strict code that people may not know. So visuals allow people to broaden their search. People are ethically tested at the point of sale. I feel that's done well in the design. And hopefully this will reduce the desire to steal in the long run as well, which will be a great goal going forward. And then I just have one thing to request with using UX Pin. So I don't know how I've tried testing with these on different screen sizes. So they, based on what the monitor screen is, it could appear differently, but the way that this ideally should be tested is if you drag the bottom of your screen up to here, up to below, up to the fold, because if it's not below the fold, like the screen might look like this on load, where you can see the second part, and that's not what the desire is, but that's just how it operates on UX Pin. So yeah, if you could just pull it up to that and then test away, that would be great. Thank you.